All right, let's dive into a really powerful story today, one that comes to us from Genesis chapter 16. It's this incredibly human drama about family, about longing, and about a desperate solution that has consequences no one could have seen coming.
I mean, it's a question we've all faced, right? You try to fix something and you just end up making it worse. Well, that is the absolute core of the story we're exploring today. It shows how even a well intentioned plan can just completely spiral into jealousy, conflict, and pain.
So let's set the scene. Our story kicks off with this huge, unresolved problem. There's a promise from God for a child, but after a decade of waiting, nothing. And that pressure has pushed this family right to its breaking point, leading to a plan that is going to change everything. And, the incredible thing is that this entire saga we're unpacking, it's all right here, packed into just 16 verses. It's amazing how much raw human emotion and drama can fit into such a short text. It's like a timeless window into faith and family. Okay, so let's meet our key players. First, you have Sarai, the matriarch who is just crushed by the pain of being childless. Then there's her husband, Abram, who's kind of caught in the middle of all this. And finally, Hagar, Sarai's Egyptian servant, whose life is about to be turned completely upside down. Now, to really get what's going on, you have to understand the culture at the time. A decade in a new land, and Sarai still doesn't have any children. Back then, that wasn't just a personal sadness. It was a public shame, almost like a failure to secure your family's entire future. The pressure on her must have been just immense. So Sarai comes up with what was, for the time, a pretty practical plan. She tells Abram, look, have a child with my servant, Hagar. The idea was that the child would legally be considered Sarai's. It's basically building a family by proxy. And the text is very clear. Abram just goes along with it. So the solution seems logical enough, right? But human emotions are never that simple. And this is where that carefully constructed plan starts to fall apart, like almost immediately. And at first, it actually works. Hagar conceives a child. But this is the exact moment the trouble starts. The text says that as soon as Hagar knew she was pregnant, she started to look at Sarai with contempt. The whole power dynamic in the house just flips on a dime. Sarai's hope just boils over into pure rage. And who does she confront? Not Hagar, but Abram. She says, this is your fault, blaming him for the very plan that she came up with. The bitterness is so real you can feel it, and she even calls on God to judge between them. And look at how this plays out. Abram just completely washes his hands of the whole mess. He basically tells Sarai, she's your servant, you deal with it. And Sarai's reaction is swift and brutal. The text says she dealt hardly with Hagar, which is a way of saying she mistreated her severely. So what happens? Hagar, pregnant and being abused, does the only thing she can think to do. She runs. She escapes into the harsh, unforgiving wilderness. The plan that was supposed to build a family has now created a fugitive. Just when the situation seems totally hopeless, the story takes this incredible turn. Because out there, in the middle of nowhere, Hagar is not as alone as she thinks she is. The angel of the Lord finds her by a spring and asks these two really deep questions. Where did you come from, and where are you going? It's like the angel is forcing her to confront her past and the fact that she has no future. And all she can answer is, I'm running away from my mistress. Now, the angel's instruction is probably the last thing Hagar wanted to hear. Go back. Go back to the person who hurt you and submit. It sounds impossibly difficult, right? But this command isn't just about suffering. It comes with a promise. It's a path through her pain, not around. And this is the moment where Hagar's story changes. She's no longer just a servant in someone else's drama. She gets a divine promise of her own, directly from God's messenger. And wow, what a prophecy it is. Her son won't just survive, he's going to be the father of a massive nation. But it's complicated. He'll be a wild man, fierce, independent, someone who can't be tamed. His life will be one of conflict. And yet, through it all, he will endure. He will live in the presence of all his brethren. It's not just a promise of survival, it's a promise of defiant strength. Then, the angel gives her son a name packed with so much meaning. Ishmael. It literally means God hears. This is so powerful. It's a direct message to Hagar that her pain, her suffering, It wasn't ignored, it was heard. And her son's name would be a permanent reminder of that. And Hagar's response? This is just one of the most moving moments in the whole story. She actually gives God a name based on her experience. You are the God who sees me. Think about that. At her lowest point, a runaway slave in the desert, feeling completely invisible, she knew she was seen.
So armed with this incredible promise and this new sense of being seen, Hagar makes a choice. And that choice brings this chapter of the story to a close.
She does what the angel told her to do. She goes back to that difficult, painful situation, and when the time is right, she gives birth to Abram's very first son. And the text gives us this one last, grounding detail. Abram was 86 years old. After all those decades of waiting, he's finally holding a son. But this wasn't the child from the divine promise. This was the child from their own desperate human plan.
So yeah, the immediate crisis is over. A child is born. But this solution has planted the seeds for so much future conflict. And it leaves us with this really big question, one that goes way beyond this ancient story. What does it tell us about the clash between our own desperate plans and the promises we're meant to wait for?